Hello, it's Thursday. It's 3 p.m. in London. It's 10 a.m. in New York. And it is Thursday Q&A Live with me, Phil Morse, here in the Digital DJ Tips studio. We are here to help you with your DJing. So whatever it is in your DJing you are struggling on, whether you're struggling on the gear, whether you're struggling on techniques or the music or performing or promoting yourself and marketing yourself, whatever it is you need help with, I am here in the Digital DJ Tips School Studio, live for the next hour to help you. This is completely free. We're live on Facebook and YouTube and Twitch, and it's just me, the head tutor here at Digital DJ Tips, in the studio. The door's locked. There is no one who can interrupt us, apart from my wife, because I've got my phone in my pocket in case she needs me. That can stop you getting free advice and free help from the world's leading DJ school. We are the school with Jazzy Jeff and Layback Luke and DJ Angelo and all our other amazing tutors, but also you've got Steve and myself and the team here as well, all dedicated to helping you becoming a better DJ and or a better DJ producer. So if you don't know us, we're the people behind Rock the Dance Floor, the best-selling book on Amazon on how to DJ. We're also the people behind the Digital DJ Tips website, which I'm sure you've seen over the years. It's packed full of all the kind of stuff that's going to help you to learn this great hobby of ours. And by the way, this is the reviews section of Digital DJ Tips. You might not know about this. Click at the very top of the website to reviews and you're going to find video and written reviews of all the latest DJ gear that you can drill into, and you can choose exactly what it is you're looking for, whether you're looking for Traktor controllers or whatever. It's all here and it's all searchable and it's got video and written write-ups of all the big gear that you need. So do take a look at our reviews section. We're pretty proud of it. It's built into a pretty big resource over the years, even if I say so myself. Right, this is all about you for this hour. It's literally all about you. There's no agenda. I've got no, we've got gear set up here. That is true. I've got the Numark Mix Track Platinum FX set up here, which I've been recording some training on actually today. I've been doing some very interesting training with old Pink Floyd records and brand new Lizzo disco singles. Believe it when you hear it. So I've got this set up here today. So if you've got any questions specifically about this, then well, it's on the desk, so we could help you with that. But it doesn't matter, we're surrounded by all the gear that you can imagine here. Got a full Pioneer set up in the corner there. Loads of stuff tucked all around me that I can quickly grab and get up on screen. Should you need help with something else, do ask. So we've got loads and loads of comments coming in on the new improved comments cam, which is here. It's on this laptop here, which means I don't have to run over to the other side of the studio just to get the comments, which kind of makes sense, doesn't it? So let's have a few of our early hellos to Mixmaster G in the chilly Netherlands, to Techno Boom, hello to you Don't Like My Music, who says, you're punctual today, Phil. It's not really by design. If I was in the middle of filming some training, I would have been a bit late. I'm not going to pretend there's been any change there. Hello to the real DJ King, to GM and Paul, and to Kenneth Briscoe, and to Charlie, who says, oh my God, we are here. Yes, we're back. Hello, Phil the Goat. Thank you very much, Charlie. Unknown Nordic, easy now to you too. DJ Ginormous, Papa D, look, I love all of you appearing here every week in the first 5 minutes, and I'm very grateful, but I just haven't got the time or bandwidth to read out everyone. I want to get to the questions because that's what we're here for. So if you want to ask a question, you can do so on Facebook, on Twitch, on YouTube, the best places on our Facebook page. And the reason for that is that on the Facebook page, the comments remain underneath even when we've stopped the live show. So my team can get to you and help you with your questions there rather than them kind of disappearing in the comments. So let us begin. I'm looking for the first question in all the wonderful hellos that I've got here. The first question is from Giannis, and Giannis says, hello, I'm new. Should I buy a DDJ 400, a Pioneer DDJ 400, or a Hercules Impulse 500? So these are two beginner controllers. The reason that the question you've asked is kind of slightly wrong is that we shouldn't think about what hardware we want to buy. We should think about what software platform we want to use. So in this instance, do you want to use Serato, which is the software platform that I've actually been teaching on today? You can see the software platform here with my Pink Floyd and my Lizzo track loaded up from the training I've just been doing. Or do you want to use Recordbox? Because Recordbox is the platform that is the DDJ 400's platform. Recordbox is a great platform if you plan to DJ in clubs. because Rekordbox is the same platform on your tiny little DJay 400 controller that you will be using when you DJ on big Pioneer gear like we've got over in the corner set up here. Albeit on the Pioneer CDJs, you're going to be using it with a USB drive with the music on, but you'll still have done all your preparation in Rekordbox. And so you use the same software all the way through your journey. So if you want to DJ in clubs and you think you're going to be DJing in clubs, Rekordbox might be the way to go, and therefore the DJay 400. But if you are someone who wants to use Serato, as I'm using here today, it's equally the most popular software alongside Rekordbox, for whatever reason, then the DJay 400 isn't going to be right for you because the DJay 400 won't work with Serato. So make that decision, research your software platforms, and then you'll find it easy to choose a controller that will work with them. They're both perfectly good controllers, but one works with one platform and one works with the other. Serato tends to be more popular with party DJs, open format DJs, hip hop DJs, scratch DJs, and US based DJs, whereas, as I say, Pioneer's Rekordbox, equally popular software, tends to be more for club DJs, for DJs who play in Europe, DJs who are not that Serato bunch, if you like, the hip hop US crowd who like to scratch and all that. But both pieces of software and all the others, you know, Traktor, Virtual DJ, DJ Pro AI, they all do the basics brilliantly, and they've all got an awful lot of bells and whistles as well. So it's not like you're going to go wrong with your choice of platform. It's a great question. Thank you very much for asking, and I hope it helped you. Back to the comment cam then, and let's grab another question. This is from Jermaine, and Jermaine says, I've got a question from the Jazzy Jeff course. Is Jeff mainly using the regular echo or the echo out? It's a good question, and off from memory, I just think he uses the standard echo out, so the standard regular echo, and turns it off himself when he does that. If you're new to this and you're thinking, Jazzy Jeff course? I'll have a bit of that. Let me tell you about the DJ Jazzy Jeff course. It's one of the courses that we offer here at Digital DJ Tips. In fact, I won't tell you about it. I'll just show you where you can find out about it. Head to the digitaldjtips.com website, click on DJ courses, scroll down to mixing courses, and click on DJ Jazzy Jeff's How to DJ Right. This course is from DJ Jazzy Jeff himself, and it's your chance to learn to DJ from the world's best DJ. And it's a fantastic course. It's one of our best-selling courses of all time, quite rightfully, because he's one of the best DJs of all time. So do take a look at this course if you've always been a Jazzy Jeff fan and you want to know how he does it, or you want to learn how to do it yourself. It's a belter. So there you go. That's how to find out more about that course. So back to the questions then, and a lot of you discussing the weather, as is always the case, especially with us here in Europe, or you lot up there in Northern Europe, saying it's the first time I've not been able to wear shorts all summer. It's a horrible day when that happens, isn't it? Speaking of Pioneer, Guy says, any news or information on forthcoming Pioneer DJ gear? No. You know, we are the biggest news outlet for DJs in the world. The digitaldjtips.com website is the place where people go to find out what's going on in the DJ world. And you know, so I'm right on top of it. I know exactly what gear's out there, what people are about to release. And the truth is that there's very, very little coming out. And it's not surprising, because there is very, very little new any electronic gear coming out at the moment, whatever it is, whether you're trying to buy, you know, a new computer, or a new washing machine, or a new piece of DJ gear, because there's no chips, and the silicon chips that go in these devices mean that they can't build the devices. So there's a really big shortage of electronic gear across the board. Not that you need me to tell you that, but the knock-on effect to our tiny little DJ world is basically that there's no gear coming out. So no, we've got no news at all of anything new coming from Pioneer DJ. And the news pages have been full of software news and smaller pieces of news recently for that very reason, because nothing really new to talk about. You don't like my music? Very kindly says the Digital DJ Tips website is by far the best DJing resource on the internet. So I'm very grateful for you giving us your thumbs up there. Speaking of thumbs up, by the way, if you find these live free shows useful, give us a thumbs up, give us the smiles, give us the likes, give us the loves. Click those buttons on whatever platform you're on. It does help us to get the word out. And Nitch is saying the same thing. Phil, have you got any advice on, any info on new Denon controllers, but no, just buy what you can really and use what you can. I mean, DJing doesn't rely on a particular type of gear, just like riding a bike, it doesn't rely on a particular type of bike. So as long as you've got something that's got two things that spin round, the ability to plug in headphones, the ability to plug in speakers, and a few other controls, you're going to be fine, right? It doesn't matter what you use. So just grab what you can, and the chances are quite high you'll be able to sell it for the same amount of money you bought it for, because even second hand is a little bit hard to get your hands on nowadays. So good news from Keisha, who says, I did a two-part mix featuring one of my favourite bands that I'm seeing in 2 weeks for a Facebook group, and they all really loved it. So well done, Keisha. It's always nice to hear people getting success this way. It could be Keshia, actually. Sorry, I mispronounced your name there. Lots of snidey little digs at Mixmaster G talking about putting his trousers on. It's the old, I'm not wearing my shorts anymore because it's cooling down conversation going on. I always like to see everyone chatting to each other. Wow, a lot of people are asking about new gear. You're obviously very hungry for it. This is a really great question. This one comes in quite a lot, and it is from Project Walshy. Project Walshy says, hi, I live in a flat, which is an apartment for those of you who aren't in the UK. And I want to know how I can practice DJing without using monitors, etc. It's a great question, because not all of us have got the luxury of being able to turn the music up loud. You might think that in a big studio like the one that we're in here, I can just play rock out anytime I want, but actually we can't, because we're in a World Trade Center here with lots of important people doing accountants and law and all the other stuff that goes on in a World Trade Center. So we've got to behave ourselves, at least in daytime. We can rock out a bit at night when they've all gone home. So it is a valid concern of DJs. You want to rehearse, you want it to be nice and loud, but you can't plug your speakers in or can't have your speakers very loud. So a couple of bits of advice for you. The first piece of advice is get your speakers there. Get really good speaker stands that put your speakers so the tweeters are at ear level and your speakers are bloody close to you. Because if you do that, you don't need to turn them up loud to get a really immersive DJing experience. So just physically moving the speakers you have got so they're as close to your ears as possible. I mean, crane stands that get them right here wouldn't be bad. And the tweeters level with your ears. And that means you're going to hear that really like twice as loud as if they were there, right? So get your speakers close to you is the obvious, but it's one thing a lot of people miss. But sometimes you can't use your speakers at all because it's your kids are in bed or whatever. And so you're down to using your headphones. So let me give you a couple of tips on how to make the best of DJing with a pair of headphones. So the first thing you want to do when you're DJing with headphones, because all DJ controllers have this, is find this control here. It's the Q mix control. So your headphones are always going to have one of these. It's Q gain, right? This is just your volume level for your headphones. So when you press a Q button on a channel, you will hear that channel. I will now hear this channel here because I press this button here through my headphones, right? Doesn't matter what anything else is set to, it's going to come through my headphones. This is your volume control for that. But this is your mix. Now this says, if this is all the way to the left, only play in my headphones any music source where I've pressed this Q button, right? But if I have it around there, all the way around there to PGM or master, now it's going to disregard what's going on here. It's just going to play me what the audience is hearing coming out of the main volume control, coming out of the back of the unit. But the interesting thing is if I put that somewhere in the middle, then you're going to get a blend of the two. So by using this control, you could be lining up your next track by simply turning it to there. And when your next track's lined up, you can turn it to the middle. So you're starting to hear in your headphones what the rest of the world is hearing. And then you can hit play on there and you're hearing in your headphones now a mix of what the rest of the world's hearing and what only you can hear. And then you can use the mixing controls to mix that into the main mix. It's the best way that all DJ controllers, or nearly all of them. I did spot one recently, a newish cheap one that didn't have that on. I was quite shocked, but nearly all of them have this control on. The best way of doing it though, which isn't on all controllers, is by using a split Q button. Let me show you a split Q button. I'll grab this Pioneer mixer. And this mixer is, I'm going to put it very gently because it's heavy, on top of that mix track controller, just so I can zoom in on it for you and show you the control. So actually, if I zoom in and move it this way a little bit, you'll be able to see the control a bit better. Get my head out of the way. It's this control here, this little button here that says headphones, mono split and stereo. So with this Pioneer mixer, it's exactly the same as with a controller. You have your Q buttons and you press your Q buttons, and you have your knob here for your Q and master to decide whether you're hearing what's in the headphones or hearing what everyone else hears. And you have your headphone volumes. So your headphones are plugged in here. Everything I've just described is the same. But this button here is a game changer, because if you put that button to mono split, now you're hearing something very different in your headphones. Now, in one of your headphones, you're hearing what the audience is hearing, and in the other headphone, you're hearing whatever you've got set on the Q buttons as per what we've discussed. So that means that because the way us DJs play, when we're DJing with headphones and speakers, it tends to be that we put our headphones on, we'll have a favorite monitor speaker, maybe that one there, we'll step towards that monitor and listen to that monitor in one ear, and that's telling us what the audience is hearing, and then we'll take our headphone and put one of the ear cups on the other ear, and that's playing to us what we're listening to on the mixer. So we've got a speaker in one ear and an earphone in the other ear. The split Q button replaces that speaker with the other headphone. And so now you can see that by using this, we're giving ourselves the chance of DJing without any speakers at all, properly. This is a game changer for a lot of DJs. In our community, or rather in our community of tutors, Laidback Luke and James Hype DJ with that split Q button 24/7. And the reason they do that is they use in-ear monitors, or IEMs, posh word for wired earbuds. And they never take them out when they're DJing. They go in and they stay in. And that means that they can disregard any monitor speakers that happen to be in the DJ booth. They can turn them off if they want, because they're not using them. So they're not reliant on the monitor speakers in a DJ booth or any speakers, and they're DJing only on their headphones. So they use it for a performance reason, and also because it's a nice way to protect your hearing, because you're controlling the volume going into your ears. But you can also use it for DJing late at night on your own, in your very, very quiet flat, when there's people asleep in the flat, or there's people above or below you or whatever. So if you've got DJ gear with a split Q button on it, and some DJ controllers do have, let us know in the comments if you've got a DJ controller that has, educate us. Most don't, unfortunately, and so you're back to using this method with the Q-Mix button, which is a Q-Mix knob, which isn't the end of the world, by the way. The Q-Mix knob is pretty good at what it does, but it's better to use the split Q if you've got one. So it's quite a long answer to your question there, but a lot of people ask that question, so I knew it would be one of those questions that is going to help a lot of people watching this today. Thank you for that, Project Welshie. Great question. We are live here at Digital DJ Tips. It's me, Phil Morse, from Digital DJ Tips, answering all your questions live about any area of DJing that you want help with. There's 5 big areas of DJing: gear, music, techniques, playing out, promoting yourself. They're all written about in our book, and I want you to have the book for nothing. If you have got the money and you want to buy it, hey, it's in all good bookshops. You can also get an audio book and a Kindle book. That's great, but you don't have to, because you can have it for free. And here's how to do it. Go to digitaldjtips.com, click on the logo at the top to get yourself to this homepage, and there's a couple of ways you can get the book. You can click on the big banner that says get your free DJ guide and Amazon bestseller, and then you join for free our community, and we'll give you a PDF download of the book. Or you can simply click on the book at the top, and here it'll go to an online version of the book where you can click through and read every single chapter in the book. They're all the same in here as they are in the book itself. There's no change. It's exactly the same text, and you can read it all online as well. However you do it, please do go grab the book, because it contains information about those 5 areas of DJing: gear, music, techniques, playing out and promoting yourself. It really is the key to doing well in this hobby, and indeed it's so important. It's on page 3 of the book. book with this diagram here. It's the way we teach DJing, it's the way we teach it in our complete DJ course, and it's the way we refer to it in the book and in all of these lives. So do go grab a copy if you haven't got one. Right, questions. The next live question is from, let's have a scroll down and see what we've got. Jacob, who says, when's the new mobile DJ mixing course expected to take off? If all goes according to plan, end of October, Jacob, for our brand new course, the first mixing course that we've produced in-house for several years now, and it's a big one. It's to help mobile DJs to mix like club DJs. It's a big one. Keep your eye open for that. I need a small controller, says Greg, to use with Algoriddim's DJ Pro AI. What is a good buy? Algoriddim's DJ Pro AI is a great piece of software if you're a Mac or iOS user. It's really very Apple-centric. It's beautifully designed. It's got some pretty innovative features. It's got stems, live remixing and so on. And so if you're in that ecosystem, if you're an Apple user, it's good because it works well with your music apps and with cloud and all that. But there are not as many controllers that are dedicated to it as there are to other platforms. But that said, there is a controller that I would recommend you to use if you are someone who wants to buy a small controller, which is what you're asking about, for that software. And it's this one here. Let's take the deck saver cover off of it. It's the little Reloop Buddy controller. So the Reloop Buddy is good because of a couple of reasons. It's got control over a lot. Again, let's just put it down here and I'll give you a zoom on it so you can have a closer look at it. That's too zoomy. That's better. It's got control over most of the features of the DJ Pro AI software. The performance pads are designed to map really tightly onto DJ Pro AI. It's also got control on board over the live remixing, live streams remixing. So you can take out the drums, you can take out or add in the music, and you can take out or add in the vocals. So simply by turning those two down, the track will only play with the vocals, and you've got an instant a cappella. It's quite powerful, and this controller, even though it's tiny, offers you really good control over that. And the other thing, the other killer, is if you're an Algoriddim DJ Pro AI user, you've probably got an iPad, and it's got a slot in the back for your iPad. So as a kind of like fun little portable controller for Algoriddim's DJ Pro AI, this one is a great one. Now there's a bigger one coming from the same people, Reloop, called the Terminal Mix 8. I think it's called the Terminal Mix 8. I might be wrong there. Anyway, it's coming soon, and it is a beast of a controller, and we're hoping it'll drop sometime this autumn, and we'll be able to bring you a review of it. That's a real professional controller for the same software, so quite interesting. But that's the small one I would recommend, the Reloop Buddy controller there. The next live question, loads of live questions coming in now. DJ Old School's asking a question. No, that wasn't me that said that, DJ Old School. Don't know where you heard that from. How long does it take to get a gig as a new DJ, says DJ Manos. It's a great question. What do you mean by a gig? You know, you could play a gig in front of your family in a week from now. If you want to play at a festival on the main stage at the top slot, it's going to take you a bit longer. The way we teach DJing here is we say, in our book, we say right at the very beginning, you know, the first thing you should do is book yourself a gig. The first thing, just like, you know, I'll tell you a story. When I was 16, I started a band. I was the guitarist and the songwriter, and we formed a band, and we were just dicking around, not doing anything. And then one of us booked us a gig. It wasn't main stage at a big festival. It was the upstairs room at a small pub on the market in Stockport in England, where I was from. And suddenly it got very, very real, because we had a gig, and we rehearsed and rehearsed and rehearsed, and in order so we didn't make lots of fools of ourselves at this gig. And that's what happens if you book yourself a gig. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be Tuesday night down at the local social club where you know there'll only be 10 people there. Doesn't matter. The point is, if you book yourself something and then practice for that thing, you will do the work necessary to not make a fool of yourself. Because DJs fall into a trap. DJs, like, they'll buy a controller and they'll say, oh, this has got cues and auto loops, and it's got fader cuts, and it's got samples, and it's got these effects on it as well, and it's got filters. It's got 3-band EQ. Oh wow, man, I can press a button and I can switch to 4 decks, and it's got really good looping. And I don't think it's going to be possible for me to master all of this goodness in the next week or the next month or the next year. I'm just going to get my head down and practice until I feel like I know what I'm doing with it all. But the thing is, to DJ in front of a crowd, you need none of that stuff. To DJ in front of a crowd, you need to know who that crowd are and what they like. You need to be prepared when it comes to being able to put music on and switch cleanly from one track to another. And most importantly, you gotta have the right tracks. And all of that stuff can be done quickly if you're a music fan and if you've got that gig booked. And the other thing, and the other crucial thing, that if you're a new DJ thinking, how much do I need to practice in order to get gigs? The other crucial thing that I want to share with you that will, if you're not convinced yet, that will hopefully convince you that what I'm saying is right, is this. Have you ever booked yourself a holiday or a weekend break or a trip somewhere that you really wanted to go to? Paris or Los Angeles, or do you know what I mean? Somewhere, think of somewhere now. Think of somewhere that you booked and you were really looking forward to, right? Have you pictured somewhere? You did a lot of research, didn't you? You booked that event, that holiday, that weekend break, and then you read about it and you got excited and you thought, oh, I'm going to go there. You might have got a guidebook or downloaded an app all about the place or done your Google research. And you might have thought, oh, I bet that's brilliant. Oh, I'm definitely going to do that. I want to go, oh, that sounds good. Or better, they're saying avoid that. I won't go there. Or, and all that, right? Then you go there. And when you come back, you have another look at all the stuff you read. And this time it feels very different, doesn't it? It's like, oh, God, I remember reading that. And then we went there and it was nothing like that. Or I know what they were saying now, but I read it quickly. It didn't really mean anything to me beforehand. Actually going there and finding out about somewhere for yourself is very, very different to reading about it and learning about it. So I can sell you a book, we can teach you, but when you buy our book or when you buy our courses, yes, we'll show you what you need to know, but we say to you right at the beginning of all of them, book yourself a gig and go and play, because only by doing that will any of this really make sense. And once you've done that, come back, read it again, take the course again, follow it again, and you'll find you're learning so much quicker. In other words, you learn more at your first DJ gig than you do reading 1,000 books or taking 1,000 courses. So just be bold, book the gig, get twice the amount of music you need. If you're going to be DJing for an hour, that's what, 20 songs, 25 songs, get 50 songs. You can do that and learn to get from one to the other without gaps, and then get out there and do the gig. I promise you you're going to love it, and I promise you you'll learn a lot from it. It's a key piece of advice. Don't wait to gig. DJs DJ. Dreamers dream. Don't be a dreamer sat at home with a piece of DJ gear. Get out there and do it. It's not rocket science. What's the worst that could happen? So great question, thank you very much. Right, let's grab another one. We are live here in the Digital DJ Tips studio. We are live here for another half hour or so. We're halfway through the show already. This is our Thursday show where we just help you. We answer your questions and we're live. Got them all coming in here from Twitch. Hello to Sono Distorto on Twitch. Hola to you too. On Facebook, hello to DJ Morningstar Attila in Orlando. And on YouTube, all our regulars are on YouTube. So hello to all of you. Too many to mention. And I'm just here to answer your questions. As the head tutor at Digital DJ Tips, my job is normally to be making paid for tuition. Indeed, that's what I'm doing now. I showed you what I'm working on a second ago. But we're taking a break, as we do every Thursday, just to go live and to answer your questions. It's what it's all about. So I'm here now to do that. So do ask away. Just don't do it more than once. We always say, keep calm and ask once, because this is quite relevant on the occasion of the death of our Queen, isn't it? A black poster with the Queen's crown at the top of it. Anyway, very British poster. Thank you very much to Ivan who made this for us. Keep calm and ask once, and that means don't get all shouty in our comments because we'll ignore you, and don't cut and paste because you're denying someone else that slot. We will answer your question if we can, and if we can't answer it, we'll do it afterwards, especially if you ask on Facebook where it's easier for us to do that. Right, so Barry says, hi Phil, please could you explain to me the basics of how to use DMX lighting? Thank you. Yes, I can explain to you the very basics, but I can also point you in the direction of more help. DMX lighting is a way of plugging together lighting fixtures that you use as a DJ. So there could be up lights, there could be spinny lights, there could be gobos and flashing lights and even lasers and stuff. You can plug them all together with cables that are like MIDI cables. If you're a musician, you know that MIDI cables are what you use to plug musical instruments and computers together. So DMX lights are simply, DMX is the lighting version of MIDI. It's just cables that allow all the gear to talk to each other, or more importantly, to talk to a central controller. So once you've plugged them all together, and you can get all kinds of things nowadays, wireless DMX and stuff like that. Once they're plugged together, you can control them properly. There is a book. In fact, there's a pair of books which I have here. These books are the ones you want if you want to learn about this. They are the Essential Guide to DMX for Mobile DJs and Building a Mobile DJ Light Show. They're both by Jordan Nelson. You should buy the green one first, and the second one will build on that. Jordan knows his stuff. They're a few years old now, but they're pretty up to date. These books will help you. You can get them on Amazon. So just look up Jordan Nelson on Amazon as an author. Just search in the Amazon box and these two books will appear. So that's the best guide I know for doing this stuff. Right, let's move on to the next live question. This is from Eric, who says, with all the great strides that Den and DJ has achieved over the years, why is Pioneer still the club standard? It's due to the conservatism of the DJ world and the fact that Pioneer DJ's equipment, which has been in the DJ booth as a standard for decades now, ever since the end of Technics, ever since Technics turntables stopped being used and people started using CDJs, Pioneer DJ has been dominant in the DJ booth. And therefore, in order for someone to come in and take their crown, there has to be something wrong with what Pioneer DJ is doing. And there isn't. DJs are quite happy with what Pioneer DJ is doing. No, they haven't got the most innovative features. No, they're not changing what is possible with their gear, you know, very quickly in the same way that Den and DJ has. So you're not getting built-in control for lights. You're not getting built-in streaming services. You're not getting, you know, the ability to control 2 decks off 1 player and all that stuff. But guess what? Turns out the DJs don't really care about that stuff. Professionals don't anyway. They just want to turn up and be playing on gear that they are familiar with. And Pioneer DJ has got the dealer network, it's got the reliability, it's got that familiarity among DJs. So Den and DJ's equipment is fantastic. You know, if you're a hobby DJ and you get to choose your gear, you get a lot more for your money with Den and DJ than you do with Pioneer DJ. But Pioneer DJ is the standard, and so they're innovating on their own terms, which are, don't rock the boat. You keep doing what you're doing, because if you rock the boat too much, you might find that the people who've been supporting you for all these decades and who are quite happy with the way things are don't want to do it anymore. So it's an interesting fight or battle. There's room for both, of course. There's always room for competition, but that's the reason that DJs are inherently a conservative bunch and don't really, there's not really a problem that needs to be solved there, in my view. So the price of the Den and DJ Prime 4 has almost doubled along with all DJ gear. It's just the supply and demand, isn't it, in the marketplace? We've already kind of talked about that. I own a JBL Charge 1 speaker, says Olivia, but I want to upgrade my speaker. Is the Pioneer DJ DM40D or 50D louder? So you want to upgrade your speakers from a little like beer can speaker to a proper speaker, to a proper pair of DJ monitors. So good move. The DJ speakers tend to be bigger when they've got a bigger physical speaker in them, because the laws of physics say the bigger the physical speakers in any given speaker, the louder they are. So the speakers we've got on our desk here, which I could probably unplug one and show you without a loud pop happening. Speakers we've got on our desk here are tiny. They're these tiny little IK multimedia speakers, and the reason for that is to let you into a little trade secret. When you're filming DJ training in a studio, listen to how quiet this studio is. You'll probably just hear the hum of the aircon in the background. It's a very quiet place, and that's what you need. Because when you're filming from all our cameras, you know, we've got cameras everywhere, as you're seeing. When you're filming with cameras everywhere and music playing and microphones and stuff, you don't want bleed. You don't want stuff getting in where it shouldn't be. So we use tiny speakers and then we have them turned down low so that the volume doesn't kind of mess up what we're doing when we come to editing those videos. And if you're in a flat, as we were talking about earlier, maybe small speakers. But if you want bigger speakers, you know, these speakers are never going to pump out 200 watts of music power. You ain't going to get it from a speaker like that. It's the laws of physics, as Scotty would say in Star Trek. So you've asked me which is the louder out of two speakers, both made by the same company, both the same model. They're called the 40 and the 50 because of the size of that speaker. That speaker is 4 inches on the 40 and 5 inches on the 50. Don't quote me on that, but it's definitely bigger on the 50, and therefore the 50 will be louder. So easy to share that information with you. And generally that's the case. The bigger the speaker, the louder it'll be, generally, everything else considered. Is there really much difference, while we're talking about the speakers, between high-end speakers and sub-brands? I'm investing soon and I can't choose a set. For me, there is, and for me, I'd always go for a good brand, because it's like even if you're poor, you should have a good bed and a good pair of shoes, right? Because if you're not in one, you're in the other, and you're in them both all day, every day, or all night, every night. It's the same with speakers for DJing. You're going to be using them all the time. So buy good ones. They're going to be more durable. They're going to be made better. There's going to be better quality control, and there's going to be less chance of there being something bad about them because they've made a lot of them and sold a lot of them, and so you're not the first person or one of the few people to buy them. So I would just say always go with brand speakers. Personally, it's not a place to cut corners. You know, buy a cheap DJ table if you want, but buy brand speakers would be my advice there. Right, we are live here, people. It's Digital DJ Tips. I was looking at the wrong camera then, I think. Anyway, we're live here. It's Digital DJ Tips. We are here in the studio helping you with your DJing questions and your DJing queries. I want to tell you now about the DJ test, because it's something new that we've done and you might not have heard about the DJ test. It's a great way of bragging about where you are in your DJing, because you take this simple online test and we give you a DJ score, and that DJ score tests you on the 5 areas I was talking about: gear, music, techniques, playing out and promoting yourself. So head over to the Digital DJ Tips website to get your DJ score. It's easy. Click at the very top of the site on DJ test, and then you'll land on this page here. Click take the DJ test. It's going to take a few details off you, because when you've taken the test, we will send you a personalized training plan, totally free. It's a 60-page PDF written by me, and it is tailored to you and how you did in the test. So if you didn't do very well in music, you'll get a lot of help on building a music collection. If you didn't do very well in promoting yourself, I'll give you more tips on basic marketing and so on. So look, take this test for fun and get your DJ score and brag to other people about it. But the real reason for doing it is that you will get a free piece of training, and it's not just a tiny thing. It's a 60-page personalized PDF from me at the end of it to say thank you for taking the test and also to help you advance as a DJ. It's something we've just recently revamped. We've had this for many years and it's helped many thousands of DJs, but just recently we have improved it in all kinds of areas. So go to Digital DJ Tips and click on the link, or just go to thedjtest.com and you'll find that test there. Right. Let's grab another live question. Oh, thank you, DJ Cash, who just says, I like your videos. How are you doing? Well, I'm doing very well, and thank you for liking our videos. Right, let's go scroll down then and find a question that is a little bit different to the ones that we've asked already. We tend to get lots of like, do you know if there's any new gear coming for this or that type questions, but I want to just try and get a nice mix here. The next question I'm going to pick is a promoting yourself one, because we haven't done a marketing question yet. This is from Jacques on Facebook. We've launched as a trance events company this year, and we're about to have our 4th club event. What, in your opinion, is the most important steps or ways to get info about our events out? We, the DJs included, do promo with flyers and so on, and we have video clips from previous events on Facebook, and we also post in trance groups and event groups and Instagram, but I feel like we're not hitting the mark with our promo. What would you recommend we do? So I was a club promoter for 15 years. Club promotion got me my life as a DJ. It got me to DJ in Privilege in Ibiza, the biggest club in the world. I got to book all my heroes at the time. I got to DJ with a lot of my heroes. I got a name as a DJ all through being a DJ promoter. So I understand promoting. Our club won several awards as the best club night in Manchester in England where we were. So I know about how to do this stuff. The best single piece of advice I can give you or anyone who wants to promote their own event is get the email address of every single person who walks through that door. Come any way that you can do it, get it. We used to have someone with a clipboard, stood outside, and also if people came to the DJ booth, before we talked to them, we said, have we got your email? Put it on that list. And then and at the end, as DJs, we used to go to the door of the club at the end of the club night and stand there and say thank you to everyone who'd come. And are you on our list? Are you on our list? Are you on our list? And get email addresses. And then email that list every time. Because here's what happens. If you've put on 4 nights, Jack, you haven't had the same people in all those 4 nights. I'm going to guess 1 or 2 of them were all right. 1 or 2 of them were quite quiet. But they won't have been the same people. So if you put on 30 nights, if you can manage to put on a night a week for 30 weeks, which is only like 6 or 7 months, or a night a month for 2 years, 20 or 30 nights, and you're making sure that there is no one who walks through that door who half enjoys themselves, who doesn't literally walk in, turn around and walk out again, who you haven't got the email address for, then if you're on a 100-person venue, you're not going to have the same 100 people there for those 20 events or 30 events. You're going to have 1,000 people, 1,500 people, and that email list is now 1,500 people who've been to your club. And one rule of marketing is it's much easier to sell to people you've already sold to than it is to sell to people who don't know what you're about. It's why, I'll be totally transparent with you here because I love sharing this stuff. It's why over on the Digital DJ Tips website, we have things like the DJ test. We have things like our book. We have things like our reviews and our guides and our videos. Because we want you to have what we do. Because once we've got what you give us in return, which is your email address, and once we've got this thing going on, we're giving you great value and you're letting us do it, it's easier to say, hey, we've just done this. Do you want this as well? Do you want this as well? Do you want this as well? And that's how we find our customers. And it's how you should be finding your customers as a club night. People will arrive at your club night not knowing who you are because their mate was coming, or they asked the taxi driver and they said, oh, there's something going on there tonight. They've got a lot of people have got no loyalty or love for you when they walk through that door. They could walk through that door for any reason. But once they've been once and enjoyed it, if you didn't take their email address, you're literally throwing your marketing down the drain when you could be getting someone who's going to be a fan for life. And the thing that happens is, that person will bring someone else who might tell someone else, who might tell someone else. So it's like a spider spreading out, and all from taking email addresses. So look, if I can give you one piece of advice, gather email addresses. And by the way, don't sit there and say, oh, email's so old hat. Emails, no one cares about email anymore. We should be getting people's Insta, we should be getting people to follow us on TikTok or whatever it is that you think is the right idea. Get their email address, because Instagram and TikTok will email you when they really need to get in touch with you, right? Email is the universal, non-branded way of getting in touch with people. It is the gold standard when you want to send some information to someone and get them to read it and to consume it. So get people's email addresses and then, of course, email that list. Don't just leave it stood there. Once a month, send out something useful to them. That's my piece of advice. So let us know how you get on, Jack. Thank you very much for the question. We've got a little bit of time left here today. We're into the last 15 minutes. If you're enjoying this, please do hit the likes. And let's grab another live question. And this one is from, he said, clicking back to the comment cam before he'd even found one, as I do. It's what you do to keep talking when you haven't seen these questions before. This is from... Actually, there's a lot of discussion going on about the difference between in-ear monitors, IEMs, and using headphones. So let's talk about that for 2 seconds. In-ear monitors, the advantages of always in wired monitors. The advantages, you can have the volume where you want it. You don't need to worry about monitor speakers in the room. And you can use the split cue function, which if you're used to using it, it just means that you're relying only on having a good mixer. They stop other people talking to you when you're DJing because you've got your headphones in. What you're saying, headphones say, don't talk to me, don't they? Whereas a DJ like this, is saying, hey, come and chat to me, come and pester me. So if you're antisocial, they can be a great way of stopping people talking to you. Disadvantages, you might like to take your headphones off, pop out to the dance floor, chat to people. You might be the kind of social DJ that really enjoys that interaction. It's harder to do with IEMs in. And you might have learned to live our live shows. We always end up with advice from you. I can just share it and make sure everyone hears it on all platforms. You're discussing using DJ software and getting the most from it. And Cadillac Black says a really good tip when you're using DJ software, and Cadillac Black is talking about Serato, but it's the same with all software, is to learn the shortcut keys. And it's a really good point, because if you know the shortcut keys, there's two really good reasons why that makes sense. One, it's just good to know them, because some things might happen that you can only do with a shortcut. For instance, sometimes you find your deck playing backwards in Serato. There's two reasons that can happen. One, you've got your DVS and you're using control vinyl and you've got your plugs in the wrong way. But the other one is you've accidentally hit a key. And unless you know the key to hit to stop that happening, there's nothing on your controller that can fix that for you, right? So it's worth knowing this stuff. But the second reason is not all controllers have got all controls on them. This is quite a basic DJ controller here, and it hasn't got an awful lot of stuff on it. So if you've got a controller that doesn't have an awful lot of stuff on it, then the way to get around that is to use the keys. Like, for instance, you can access all 8 cue points and stuff like that, which is not possible on every controller. So if you have got DJ software on a keyboard near you, using it on a laptop, do learn your shortcuts. And a little tip, in Serato, you can actually click a little button at the top and it will show you all the shortcuts on the screen like we're seeing here. So you can print that off, or you can quickly look at them when you are DJing. And by the way, just as a tip, if you are finding that your music's playing backwards, it is the Q and the A keys for the left-hand deck and the right deck in Serato. Q and A. We'll reverse and put your deck forward again, just so you know. Right, questions. The questions now are coming in thick and fast, as always. So question from Craig. Good to see you, Craig. If you wanted to try Traktor for the first time, what DJ gear would you recommend that isn't going to break the bank? So Traktor software is interesting in that it works best with its own gear. So you wouldn't really want to be using Traktor with a controller like this one I've got here, for instance, because this is designed for Serato and it's not going to work very well with Traktor. So the best controller for Traktor that I always recommend people who are serious about it is this one. It's the Traktor Control S4. Ours is a little bit dusty at the moment. It's the Traktor Control S4. The reason the S4 is a really nice controller is it's Traktor's flagship. It's got everything on it. It's really nicely built. You can plug your record decks in. You can use it as a 4-track mixer. These effects here are very, very nice because you can actually select a different one for each of these knobs, which is really, really cool. These spin round, they're motorized. Which is great. They're the only actual little jog wheels that I know that are motorized. And so that makes it doubly fun. Now, the next controller for Traktor that I would advise, if you can't afford the Traktor Control S4 Mark III, which is quite an expensive controller, is the Traktor Control S3. So let's get rid of the S4 Mark III and get the S3 up here to show you. So the Traktor Control S3 actually looks quite similar to the Traktor Control S4 Mark III, but it's not got any of the standalone mixer or the ability to plug in decks or the spinning platters. But apart from that, as you can probably see, the layout and the controls are very similar. So if you like the 4 decks and you like the look of the Traktor Control S4 Mark III, but you can't afford to go that high, and you actually don't want to use record decks, you don't want to plug extra things in, so you don't need the standalone mixer, that could be the right one for you. And as a beginner on Traktor who doesn't have too much money, the go-to controller, and it's still a lovely controller, it's very similar to the new Mark, right? We're looking at now, look, same size, same look, but actually it's also comparable in pretty much all the other ways as well. You've still got your pads, you've still got 2 good channels, you've still got nice jog wheels, but it's very basic. And this is the controller to go for if you're new to Traktor, you haven't got very much money, and you just want something that will do the job. It's very good, it's well built, you won't have any problems with it. The good news is if you buy a controller like this, and you really get into it, you're probably going to want to upgrade to go to the Traktor Control S4 Mark III at some point anyway. But you can keep your S2 as a backup controller, because once you get to that point in DJing, once you get to that point where you are buying professional gear and going out and DJing with it, you always need a backup. You don't want to be going and saying, what happens if it breaks, or I have to send it off to be repaired, right? So a backup will help you with that. So I would definitely recommend starting with the S2 and then see where you go. If you've got a bit more money and you want the 4 channels, go for the Traktor Control S3. Okay, people, 1 or 2 final questions before I've got to go today. This is from Ben, and this is a music question. We haven't talked about music today yet, so we'll do it now. Ben says, how do you go about making a set? I'm trying to make a set now, drum and bass. I'm doing it by choosing my favorite tracks, putting them in key order, and then making a mix using the Camelot wheel and the keys to move around my tracks. Is that a good way? Well, that's a good way of practicing, Ben. But if you're making a DJ set, instead of thinking about which key are these in, or are these easy to mix, you're coming about it the wrong way, Ben. I would humbly suggest to you that you say, if I was listening to a drum and bass mix, what track out of these tracks I want to put on my mix would I think would be a good one to start with? It might be something with an atmospheric intro. It might be something that's not quite as energetic as the music you're going to be mixing later. Or it could be the biggest tune, literally the biggest tune out of all of them, because you want to hook people in. But the question to ask is, what tune would be the right tune to start with? And then what tune would be the right tune to play next? And then next, and then next. And then find a way of mixing them together. Don't let the mixing, or whether they're in the right key, or any of that stuff, dominate your thinking about what order the tune should be in. Try and have a beginning, a middle, and an end to a mix. So the way our tutor Jazzy Jeff talks about this is you need a takeoff, a flight, and a landing. And Jeff says one of the things I hate the most in the world is where someone comes up to me and says, you've got to finish in 10 minutes. And I'm like, but I'm at 30,000 feet. How am I going to land in 10 minutes? It really makes him physically angry, because he thinks so hard about how to signal to people the set's coming to an end and bring people back down to where he wants to leave them. So think about the order of the music from the point of view of the listener, and not about mixing, because a good DJ can mix anything into anything, right? So your job is to then find those blends. As a practice, hey, mixing from the lowest BPM to the highest BPM, mixing around the Camelot key wheel, all that stuff is great. But for a mix, think about the structure of the mix and think about the order of the songs rather than how easy they are to mix together. Right, I'm going to grab 1 or 2 more comments and questions before I've got to go. M. Zick says, I failed miserably trying to get my computer working with the Denon DJ Prime Go last summer. I sold it. Then I just purchased it again. I'm about to try and learn it all over again. Well, good luck this time round, MD Zick. You know, the good news, the good thing about the Denon DJ Prime Go controller, which is this little one here, and as you can probably see from the case, it's taken a right battering because I've used this everywhere, is that you don't need a computer with it. So I'm not sure what you were trying to do that you couldn't do with the computer, but I hope you've got it solved. It's a lovely little controller. You'll have a lot of fun with it, I'm sure. Cashier's got to go now, but you're going to be catching the replay. Let me just remind everyone you can watch the replay on YouTube and Facebook once we are done here today. Charlie says, Phil, you never miss a beat. I love your services. Beats working, Charlie. I'm just chatting DJing. It's just that we turn cameras on. It's all we do every day anyway, so why not turn the cameras on and share it with you? Derek says, it's a good question, I can't answer it. Where can I purchase Technics 1200s? No idea. Der Creatives says, how can one practice? I'm going to use this as our last question today, actually. It's a really, really good one. How can one practice or get used to the professional Pioneer DJ stuff so you're prepared for a club that uses it? It's just a great question, because of course we step up from controllers like this and we're asked to DJ in a club, and the club doesn't have controllers like this, it has gear like this, and they're like, well, why do you need to bring your own gear? We've got the best gear in the business. And so you kind of think, they've got a point. How can I learn that? Well, look, there's a lot of people will charge you a lot of money to teach you how to use gear like that when you're used to using gear like this. But that's like teaching you how to drive a Mercedes when you're used to driving a Ford. It's not something you need someone to teach you. It's something that you need to, one, realize isn't going to be very hard, we're all happy with the idea when it comes to cars, right? Well, look, let me tell you, there's not much difference between the controls on here and the controls on this stuff. And so one, we've got to get that confidence thing out of the way. And then two, we've got to just do the minimum necessary to know that we're ready. So I'm going to give you two pieces of advice now that are going to help you to do this. And this is how I'm going to leave it today with you. I hope you found it useful. If you have, hit those like buttons, and even better, share this with your friends. So the first piece of advice I'm going to give you is to head over, as always, to the Digital DJ Tips website, the source of all DJing knowledge and wisdom, and hit the search box and type in CDJ 3000, and you will find lots and lots of information here about the CDJ 3000s that's going to help you get your head around what they are and how they work. But it gets better than that, because just recently we have published something that you can find by going to the latest, because it's quite recent when I recorded this anyway. Scroll down, and then not very far down in our list of current articles and stuff we've been doing, you'll find the complete guide to switching from DJ controllers to CDJs. Now this guide here is every question we ever get asked about this answered. I talk you through the differences, I talk you through the usual ways to use CDJs and the other ways you can use them. I talk you through how to prepare your sets, how to play on them for the first time, and then best of all, we link to something that I know you're going to love, because tens of thousands of DJs have loved it already, and that is our free 2-hour CDJ 3000 course. We've made a 2-hour training tutorial and video course that you can get by simply clicking on here and filling in your email address. We'll send you details of how to get that. It is basically me and a CDJ player. I literally get one of these, I put it on the desk, we plug it in fact I get two of them in a mixer, put it on the desk, we plug it in, and I talk you through every single feature, function, menu item. I show you how to load music, arrange music, how to use the loops, how to use the key functions, how to use everything on here. And so if you're going to be DJing for the first time in a venue that's got these, you'll feel like you've already used them. So look, get our free training. It's the first thing. Go look at the Digital DJ Tips website to do that. The second piece of advice I'm going to give you is very simple. There's going to be someone in your town or city who's got some CDJs, who's happy to let you use them for an hour or two for pennies. All reasonably sized towns have got someone who calls themselves a DJ school, and no one can call themselves a DJ school without CDJs. So find them, say, and it could be like a musician's hire center. It could be a practice room that's got some DJ gear. It could be a school or a college that's got DJ gear. Someone will let you go and use that gear for $10 an hour or something. Use them, go and do it. Take the knowledge that we give you. Even better, take our videos down there and follow along while you've got them in front of you. Because that 1 hour or 2 hours of actually using them is all you need. And if you can't do that, just ask the club or the venue, can I come in on a Tuesday afternoon and just get used to the gear? You know, there's nothing to be scared about. Most places will be just be glad that you care enough to want to do that. But really don't worry about it. As long as you know where the play and pause button are, as long as you know how to get the music onto the decks, and as long as you know how to move a crossfader from left to right and set the basics on the mixer, you can use any DJ gear, from the DJ app on your phone to the actual Pioneer stuff itself, to the virtual reality version of this. There's a third tip. If you've got an Oculus Quest 2, you can get Tribe VR, it's called Tribe VR. Look in the Oculus Quest 2 App Store. They've got a full Pioneer CDJ setup that you can DJ on with Beatport's catalog in virtual reality. So you can practice there as well. People, we are done here today. It's been an absolute pleasure. I know I couldn't answer all your questions, but look, as long as you've asked your questions on Facebook, which is our preferred platform for this, we will get to you afterwards. We don't love Facebook, we just get to see your questions even though we haven't answered them live. afterwards if you ask them on Facebook. So please do go there instead. But if you've asked on any other platform, head over to Facebook or YouTube underneath the video, ask your question again, and we'll get to you in the week. My team are dedicated to trying to answer everyone. So listen, I've got to go off. We've got a lot of training to do and to film over the next few days and weeks for the new course, which is called Mixing for Mobile and Wedding DJs. We're very excited about that here. That's what I've been doing this week. It's what I'll be doing for the next month or so. So I'm going to go and get back to that now. But from here, from me, Phil, here in the Digital DJ Tip Studio, and everyone here, we're glad that you were here. Thank you for joining us. Now get good, get out there, make the moments. Until next time, bye-bye.